Hello, this is Brazil, and with me always is my good friend Space, and this is episode 5 of the cartoon ranking tier list. Last time we went over all the shows that started with the letters D and E. Now it's time to go to the Fs. But actually, first, I made yet another blunder, and in the show order, I skipped not only one, but two shows this time. I skipped two shows that I should have covered in the last episode. First one we got is David the Gnome.
Now, I've actually got a bit of fondness for David the Gnome. This is a very, cozy show, and I've actually seen a few episodes of it. Most of the episodes I've seen of it were, pretty good, Moomin Valley type entertainment. The episode in particular that we watched was really boring, so it's only an eh.
Yeah, I only watched the first episode of David the Gnome, whereas Space is a certified David the Gnome enjoyer, and just the first episode of it was pretty boring. So I'm putting it in A tier. In fact, I would say that A is even a pretty high ranking for the one episode that I did watch. When did this come out? 80s, 90s?
I want to say it was the 80s.
Yeah, just old show, just a cozy little show about this gnome in the forest, and he's friends with all the animals. But what do you like about David the Gnome?
Well, I like David the Gnome as a character. I feel he's very likable. A real stock archetypical gnome. He lives in a tree and bakes cookies for little forest creatures. He tends to the animals. He's got some crazy lore about him. And it's also just a very cozy little storybook type show. It scratches the same itch that shows like Moomin Valley do, where you can kind of just put on an episode and unwind.
Yeah, I can appreciate David the Gnome for how genuine that it is, but judging off just the first episode, I probably wouldn't go out of my way to watch it, but I can understand how other people would. And the other one that I missed was the show Downtown, the MTV show, which I am also putting in A tier. Yeah, Downtown's just an adult animated show about a group of friends living in the city. It's kind of got a improv-y feel to it, I guess, like a home movies. I like the art style, I like the overall vibe of the show, but it wasn't enough to keep me hooked to where I would probably want to watch more of it, I would say. Alright, now it's time to get into the Fs. First up, we got the 1967 Fantastic Four, and this one is pretty bad. This is a Hanna-Barbera Fantastic Four show. Everything looks really cheap and stiff, and Dr. Doom looks like a complete nerd. The episode was just really stupid and silly, kind of like, your other 60s superhero shows, like 60s Spider-Man. Same deal, you know the drill.
Most of Marvel's 60s animated output is not very good in quality. I mean, if you've seen them, you probably know what I'm talking about. I don't feel like this show manages to really capture how fun or imaginative the comics are. I feel like the characters feel kind of sanded down and boring compared to how they're supposed to be. Dr. Doom is a complete joke to the point that he's genuinely really funny. But overall, this is a boring show that doesn't really do anything too exciting with these characters.
And next is the 1978 Fantastic Four show, and this one is going all the way up in A tier, a huge boost in quality compared to the Hanna-Barbera one. But the funny thing about this one is that the Human Torch is not in it. Instead, he is replaced with Herbie as the fourth official member of the Fantastic Four, which is hilarious.
Yeah, Johnny Storm, he is nowhere in the show. There was something about the rights and them not being able to use him, but yeah, he is completely nixed, he's absent, he is not in this show. It's Herbie, the funny little robot. The other interesting thing about this show and the episode we watched is that the main villain, at least in the episode we watched, is the most iconic Fantastic Four villain of all, Magneto. His presence in the episode was really, really funny. You may have seen the wooden gun clip circulating around. That was my first exposure to this show. But yeah, the episode is just as funny as it seems. Before the 80s reinvented Magneto as a tragic anti-hero with traumatic backstory, this is still in the era before that where Magneto was just a maniacal asshole. Just like any other villain. His plot in this episode is that he shows up at the Fantastic Four's house. He's like, yeah, hey, I want to join your team. I'm stronger than any of you. If I kick your ass, can I be your leader? And for whatever reason, Reed Richards agrees. So he fights Magneto. Magneto like beats his ass, and he becomes the leader of the Fantastic Four for no reason. And then he just like poses as a hero and like uses his position as like the leader of the Fantastic Four to just like rob a bunch of banks.
Yeah,
and do evil shit.
he says, oh, Fantastic Four, there's going to be a robbery, and we're going to stop them. Here's the plan. We're gonna go to the bank and take all of their money before the robbers get there. And they're like, what are you talking about? And he's like, no, trust me. We're gonna go and take the money before the robbers can get to it. And of course, Magneto just robs the bank and runs off with the money, and then they have to stop him.
Magneto, Omega level mutant, main villain, takes the entirety of the X-Men to stop him. You could just fucking beat him if you pull out a piece of wood. He'll just like go calmly. He just like sits in the police car, lets them put him in handcuffs, even though those are like all made out of metal. Just lets them like drive him to jail with like no fuss after that.
Yeah. He's so humiliated after being defeated. He just doesn't even care anymore.
This one's really ironically funny. And I think it's like at least funny and like silly enough to like capture more of the charm of like the actual comics. But it is definitely hurt by the fact that there's only this is the fucking Fantastic Three. I refuse to count Herbie as like a fourth member.
This is only up here this high for ironic enjoyment reasons. Next with 0 votes is the 1994 Fantastic Four show, and this one's going in not very good.
Jamie, pull up the Human Torch song.
This is for you, Melinda. I hope you like it. Yeah. They order to sit school. It's not always cool to be cool. What? You try to play you for a fool. Like you see a girl who's unique. It's a treat, cause she's sweet. And she really seems to knock you off your feet. You wanna say hey, but you don't. You don't. Your mom says tell her how you feel, but you won't. Cause you're just too cool to tell her truly. Get your feelings all getting unruly. Don't try to school me.
Alright, thanks for that.
Man, the Human Torch is such a good singer. Oh, man.
So, the story behind that is that apparently they were going to, like, do a completely different musical number there, but the voice actor for the Human Torch in the show is, like, a white rapper. And so, he talked to, I think, the producer, and was like, hey, instead of, like, doing that, can you just put my mixtape on there? And somehow they agreed to it. And that's why that whole sequence is as much of an awkward fever dream as it is. They already had it animated. It was for like a completely different thing than what they ended up running with. And that's why it is the way that it is. I love that one scene. But otherwise, I would also say this is like another watered down and a little bit uninteresting take on the Fantastic Four. I think the Fantastic Four have kind of bad luck, where they're in the same boat I think Superman was in for a while, where I think most of the adaptations of them do not do them that well, and so there's a pretty common perception of them being boring or lame if you're not a person that reads comics.
Yeah, they're still in that boat for me. Sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, I still think the Fantastic Four are really boring.
Yeah, I can't convince this guy to read a comic.
I can't read.
That's probably going to be his opinion forever, because the adaptations of them just fucking suck. None of them get it right.
I will start respecting the Fantastic Four once they make a decent show or movie about them.
But anyway, on to our next show.
Yeah, Fantastic Four, World's Greatest Heroes. This one is going in pretty good. It is, by a pretty wide margin, the best and most interesting Fantastic Four cartoon that exists.
This show has a bit of a weird art style. It's got that Martin Mysteries kind of look to it. Totally Spies kind of art style a little bit. The episode we watched deals with Dr. Doom's plot to swap bodies with Reed Richards and leave Reed Richards trapped in, like, his old body, and essentially just ruin his life by swapping places with him. And that's a plotline taken, like, directly out of the Stan Lee Jack Kirby comics. So they're actually, like, pulling shit from comics instead of pulling stuff out of their ass like the other cartoons were doing, which I appreciate that. That's got a big step up. It's also got some life to it, and it isn't completely boring to sit through like the other Fantastic Four cartoons kind of are. It also doesn't suffer from handicap that the 70s show has, where there's only 3 of the Fantastic Four. They've got like Johnny here, and I'm pretty sure they even try at some point, though they didn't in the episodes we saw, to like tie this into other Marvel stuff. I'm pretty sure they like have Spider-Man show up at one point, even though they can't call him by name due to copyright. It's interesting, and it's better enough than the other Fantastic Four shows to at least land it up here.
I thought it was decent, especially compared to the other ones. The characters of the Fantastic Four feel more like interesting people.
Doctor Doom has the same problem as the Fantastic Four, where he is like an amazing villain in the comics. Probably the best villain Marvel has, in my opinion. And in every adaptation, he fucking sucks. And with the Robert Downey Jr. casting as him, I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Every single Doctor Doom I've ever seen is just if you had Skeletor but took away everything that made him interesting and likable.
Yeah, which this Doctor Doom, it's not like super saucy, but it's like relatively faithful. So it gets point for having a decent Doctor Doom as well, which I think is a very important ingredient in making a good Fantastic Four piece of media. You've got to get Doctor Doom right, and this show comes the closest of any of the shows to doing that.
Yeah. That's all of the Fantastic Four shows, by the way. There were 4 Fantastic Four cartoons ever made, and none of them got a single vote.
I think it's just a testament to them getting like screwed over by their adaptations.
Yeah. Next up with 0 votes is Phantom Cat. And I'll put this one in This is a fairly retro show about a cat warrior hero. I don't know what you would call him, but he gets trapped in a painting for like 300 years and then gets reawoken in the modern day and has to hunt monsters along with a private investigator Catwoman. And it's a fairly interesting action-adventure show from the 80s or 90s, whenever this released. My main beef with it is the 2 comic relief sidekick goofy characters. I didn't like them. The mouse and the pigeon. I hated them. But the main 2 characters are fine. Decent show. It is a fine cartoon. Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids. This one is pretty bad. I don't think this one held up the best, especially considering it's got live action Bill Cosby in every episode.
There are a few episodes of this show, namely the prison one and the gang war one, that are really funny because they attempt to touch on like, you know, serious contemporary issues of the 1970s, but do it in like a really weird and kind of bad and like off-putting way that just sort of wraps back around to being funny. I can't take Fat Albert seriously as a character when he tries to give these serious moral lessons. And I can take Bill Cosby as a character even less seriously as a character when he tries to give moral lessons. Just given what we know about him today.
Yeah, we got somebody, he's gonna come in here and he's gonna teach you kids some very valuable lessons about morality. And that person is Bill Cosby. You should take his word as gospel. Whatever Bill Cosby says is the undeniable truth.
Amen.
Now it's time for the random recommendation that starts with the letter F, and it is a movie that I am quite fond of called Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, made in 1998 by Terry Gilliam, starring Johnny Depp and Benicio del Toro. It's based off of a book written by a famous journalist named Hunter S. Thompson, and it is about Hunter S. Thompson and his lawyer going to Las Vegas for a weekend so that Hunter Thompson can write a story for a magazine, and he ends up not doing that and just getting high on drugs the entire time. And it doesn't really have that much of a plot. It's just him and his buddy being insane together in the city of Las Vegas. And it's quite a trip. It's directed very well, great cinematography. I especially love the way that the main character talks, just his dialogue and the way he interacts, his narrations. It's a a movie about the failure of counterculture in the 1970s. I quote the movie all the time, and my Minecraft skin is Hunter S. Thompson's character from this movie. So, there you go.
Gonna have to cut his head off and bury him somewhere.
Let's get down to brass tacks. How much for the ape?
I also thoroughly enjoy this movie. High recommendation. It's got Tobey Maguire in it for like 5 minutes.
What are you talking about? He's like the third most important character in the whole dang movie. He's there the entire time for the whole adventure.
Oh, I almost forgot.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it would be a good movie, but if you're a fan of those types of movies, of comedies where there's not that much plot to it other than the characters just kind of bumbling around, then it's a good time. This is Felix the Cat, and I'm putting it in air. This one's very old, like came out around the same time as Popeye and whatnot. That like almost silent film. There is like sound, but it's mostly just, just music and sound effects, like a silent protagonist cat causing mischief. It's a fun show. It's got a lot of good visual gags in it. It does have some racist caricatures in it. It hasn't held up the best, but, the jokes and stuff, the visual gags, just the cartoony 1930s rubber hose shenanigans, that stuff is still charming. Now we got Fievel's American Tales. I didn't think it was very good. This is based off of a movie, right?
Yeah, this is based off of a movie.
Is it Secret of Nim?
I almost said Fievel's Journey to the West, but it's not classic Chinese literature, book Journey to the West.
An American Tale, Fievel Goes West.
Journey to the West. It is a kid's cartoon that was produced in the 90s. It was based on a movie. It's a little interesting that it has like a Western setting, kind of novel in like a kid's cartoon. You don't get too many of those, and it's always cool when you see it. But just a standard Saturday morning cartoon of its era. I don't think there's anything too memorable about it, really. There's just a bunch of mouse characters, and there's a bunch of cats, and the mice come into conflict with the cats. The most standard cartoon premise you could possibly think of, except they've put it in a Western setting. It's, it's as old as time. It's existed since Tom and Jerry. What do you have to say about it, Brazil?
Well, I like the animation for it. Character designs are all right. It's based off of a movie, which usually with these types of shows, the movie is better. And this is just a spin-off of that, continuing with like episodic stories of this mouse kid and his mice family members standing up to cat bandits, evil Western bad guy types. And it's not super interesting. It's kind of like boring. So that's why it's down here. I liked it better than Eckhart, which is a similar premise, but I wouldn't go out of my way to watch more of this. Next is Fillmore, and this one is pretty good.
Yeah, I was surprised by the quality of this. I remember this show airing when I was a kid, but I wasn't really that much of a Disney Channel kid, so I think I only saw it sporadically, like maybe an episode or two here or there. It's a lot better than I thought it would be, namely just because the premise is so good and the writing is surprisingly sharp. It's got a decent art style. It doesn't hurt my eyes to look at. Fillmore's a pretty good character. It's essentially just like a children's parody of mystery show, or like a procedural like that. It essentially is just like kid-friendly mysteries every episode, but they make them genuinely engaging to like follow along with, try to figure out on your own. It's definitely like a lot more engaging than like Scooby-Doo, I guess, or like other shows have a similar mystery solving premise.
Yeah, it's like these 6th graders in a middle school, and they act as the security police force, but they're children. The joke is that they're children, so that part is silly as itself. But the charm to it is that they all play it completely straight. They act like they are police officers for this middle school. They go to solitary confinement detention for this one kid who's supposed to be a Hannibal Lecter type to try to get information out of him to help him out on a case they're working. Stuff like that. Just stuff that you'd see in an ordinary police detective procedural, but everything happens in a middle school. And I think that that's charming. So you got these nice episodic stories of them doing a police procedural mystery in a middle school. It's pretty good. I'd recommend it.
I would also recommend it. Fillmore is surprisingly good.
Next is Fish Hooks. I'm putting this in an A tier. This is one that everybody knows of, but it got 0 votes, so it's, it's nobody's favorite show or in their top 5 favorite shows, but I think everybody remembers Fish Hooks. All in all, it's all right. It's got that silly, goofy, mid 2000s humor. The characters are kind of grating, honestly, but it's a middle of the road show. It's above neutral, in my opinion, but I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it as an adult.
I have no nostalgia for Fish Hooks. I didn't watch Fish Hooks. The only time you could ever get me to engage with Disney Channel when this was airing to watch, like, any cartoon that they had running at the point when this would have been on was just, like, dipping in to watch an episode of Gravity Falls and then immediately changing the channel. I've never been a Fish Hooks guy, and apparently neither have any of the other people who took this poll. Fish Hooks has 0 votes.
Next is Fish Police. And now I'm putting this in not very good. This is a pretty obscure show. It only has a handful of episodes ever made, and it's got really good animation, almost movie quality, I would say. It takes place underwater. It's like a parody of noir detectives. It looks solid, but watching it, I think the more you watch of it, the worse it gets, because then, like, by the end, you're just kind of ready for the episode to be over. Like, the mystery itself is not engaging, and I think that's a big part of what makes noir-type stories interesting.
Yeah. This is based on, an indie comic of the same name.
I didn't know that.
It aired in, 1992, and it had 3 episodes ever broadcasted before it got axed for low ratings. There were another 3 episodes that just actually never aired in the US. And it was produced by Hanna-Barbera, of all companies, which is shocking, for one, when you look at the animation quality most of this shit has. And also, given that it has, it often has, a lot of dirty, more adult jokes and even, some mild, swearing here and there. But believe it or not, they developed the show to try and compete with The Simpsons, which is how this was doomed before it ever aired. The animation is really, really, really solid. I think this is a very nice-looking show, but I think that the gimmick of this is like a noir parody that is set underwater with fish, wears really thin before you're even done with a full episode of the show. There's only so many fish or weird underwater jokes they can do, but they had some real voice talent. I remember they had a character voiced by Tim Curry in the show. There was another by Frank Welker and Ed Asner. There was some money thrown behind the show, but it did not do well. The mysteries aren't really engaging. Everything just kind of feels like an excuse for more fish humor. It's just not a very engaging show. It fails to hold your interest for an entire episode, which is a bit of a shame.
And next is Fishtronaut, which I'm also putting in not very good, right next to Fish Police. This is a Brazilian preschool show about a fish who has a suit where he can go on land, and they do Dora and Mickey Mouse Clubhouse type preschool adventures. It's whatever. For a preschool show, I've certainly seen better, but I've also seen worse. Animation is kind of cheap looking. I didn't think the voice acting was great, but that's what you get.
Yeah, I've got no thoughts on Fish Police. This is just a Dora-style,
this is Fishtronaut, not Fish Police.
The fish shows just blend together in my mind. I mean, look at them. The art style's so similar. They have such similar tones. You can forgive me for making the mistake.
Yeah, of course. Now we got another Brazilian show here, Fudencio e seus amigos. And it's garbage. This is another garbage tier show. This is a cartoon about this this boy who doesn't wear any clothes, and he's just like a menace, like a psycho,
like a skinhead, yeah,
terrorizing, causing trouble wherever he can, like a little demon kid. It's very crude, very vile, very disgusting. I don't like anything about this show. The art style is bad. The animation is cheap. As far as I know, I want to say that they made this to be like a South Park type show, except it has nothing that makes South Park likable or charming. It's just a really gross show about kids being evil. That's the whole show.
Pretty much like scraping the absolute like bottom of the barrel of what a cartoon can be. It's non-stop toilet gross out humor from beginning to end. That's the only style of comedy that exists within this show. And if you don't think poop is funny, you're not going to get very much mileage out of it. Even with the language barrier for me, I don't feel like being able to understand Portuguese would have at all improved my enjoyment of this show.
No. All right, now we have Forget About It. I'm putting this one in not very good. Now, let me tell you something about a friend of ours named Jimmy. This show is one of those like Family Guy ripoff shows of a mob boss living in Canada. I guess the exact same, it is exactly what you would think of a Family Guy ripoff show. Crude humor, quote, adult comedy, unquote. It doesn't look great. Art style is not pleasant to look at with your eyes, but it does have ironic enjoyment to it, which puts it over the edge, especially since it became a meme last year. Just the existence of the show itself was a meme, and I like that about it.
It's not Brickleberry bad, but it's certainly not even decent either. It's still not very good. In fact, I would even say it's bordering on pretty bad, but there's just enough like ironic enjoyment in it to save it from being in that tier. I mean, the opening is kind of iconic for better or worse.
Next is The Fungies, and I am putting this one in pretty bad. This was a Cartoon Network show that got put straight onto HBO Max, and I don't even know if it even aired on Cartoon Network. Just sort of left to die in the dust. It was one of the last remaining actual Cartoon Network shows that ever existed, but my opinion of it is not very high. It's just a very, like, sterile looking show with these weird character designs, these mushroom people, fungus people. I don't really know what they were thinking with this one. Tell them your opinion of the analogy you used of character designs.
So, imagine that you have a bucket. You know, like one of those big plastic buckets your parents used to like put toys in when you were a kid. Imagine like you have one of those and it's full to the brim of Mr. Potato Head style parts. But it's just like all individual parts of Clarence characters. To make all the character designs in this show, it's like they fucking took all the parts out of that bucket Clarence didn't want to use. That's how they made everything. That's what the show looks like to me.
Yeah, it doesn't look appealing. I don't like the voice acting. I think this is one of those situations where the creator of the show voices the main character, but they are clearly not a talented voice actor, so it just comes off as weird, like a grown man doing a high-pitched voice. I didn't laugh at any of the jokes. I didn't think it was charming. That's what it's supposed to be going for, I think. It is one of those, charming family shows, but it just looks gross and too clean and sterile that I couldn't enjoy anything about it. Next is Future Worm, and I'm putting this in not very good. This is another mid-2010s Disney XD cartoon. They're trying to be super awesome and cool, like a Crash and Bernstein or one of those types of shows where it's a kid protagonist and it's an earthworm from the future and he's super awesome and he's super cool and they go on super cool sci-fi adventures and they're totally radical and awesome. You can just look at it and just tell what this show is all about. That's it. There's no substance to it. It is very surface level, just made for like 11-year-old boys. That's the target audience. And they didn't get that much far with the premise or anything else. You got gross out humor here and there, very weird show that I did not find appealing.
I didn't see this one, but I get the gist just from what you've shown me. And all I'll say is I think that like the harder you try to present a given character as cool or radical, the more they just kind of seem like a joke, and the more like, how do you do, fellow kids, is kind of the feeling of it. Very out of touch and disingenuous. Like it's maybe not as cool or radical as they're trying to make it seem.
All right, finally out of the F's and on to the G's with gems such as the Great Garfield Show, and it goes in pretty bad.
The best thing to come out of this show is probably the normal trash can meme. Jamie, pull up the clip.
Yeah, you're right. That clip is the best thing. There is also that one villain, the Australian guy, and the song that he sings, which is really bad, which also became a meme. I'm not going to play that one, but if you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. This show is a goldmine for memes of how ironically funny it is, but the show itself is pretty bad. Even watching a full episode of it is painful. It's one of those shows where there's only an ironically funny part every now and then, not even in every episode, like a lot of these ironically funny shows. This one, it just sucks. It's just a bad Garfield show.
If you're not the target demographic of people who find Garfield funny, which, you know, if you are, I'm sorry for you, but there's not that much to really enjoy here. It did give us the masterpiece Garfield Kart, which of course is, you know, based on the designs from the show. But there's really not a whole lot redeeming the Garfield show beyond occasional moments that pull it out of the depths of utter despair that watching it induces.
Next is Gary and his Demons. I'm putting it in pretty good. This is a web animated show from Mondo Media, and it's alright. It's about this guy, middle-aged man, who wants to retire from his demon hunter job, but is sort of forced back into it. It's got an interesting protagonist of this disgruntled middle-aged man who doesn't really want to continue work, but does it out of obligation, hunting demons. There's some pretty funny bits in there. I thought it was alright. Now we have the Gary Coleman show, which is going in not very good, but this one, I'm pretty excited to talk about this one, but I'll let you go first.
This is one of the ones I've been waiting to talk about. This is in the same vein as Mr. T or the Chuck Norris Karate Commando show. It stars, can you believe it, Gary Coleman as a little boy angel who has to go down to Earth and intervene in human affairs and make life better. It's just Gary Coleman. I mean, look, it's Gary fucking Coleman.
I'm gonna say this little detail. He isn't even named Gary Coleman in the show.
Yeah,
his character is named Andy. The actor that plays him is Gary Coleman.
Yeah, but it's Gary Coleman as Andy, who goes to Earth and he has to intervene in human affairs and make life better. He's basically a smiling friend, and his efforts are thwarted by this evil motherfucker in a pimp hat named Hornswoggle, who I believe is implied to be some kind of evil demon or wizard or something, but he uses his evil magic powers to make people miserable and like fuck with and try to kill Gary Coleman. And that's the Gary Coleman show. It's a real fever dream of a show. It's funny that it exists. I know you turned over some like interesting tidbits about this show when we were, you know, researching for this episode. So I'll let you share those, because some of this, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Gary Coleman fan.
Yeah.
At least when it comes to the show.
And
I didn't even know this stuff.
And I am not a fan of the Gary Coleman show. I didn't even like it ironically that much, but I will say talking about the show is funny just because of how wild the premise is and everything surrounding it. But this is one of those cartoons that was based off of a TV movie from 1982 called The Angel with the Broken Halo, starring Gary Coleman as Andy, his character of an angel, you know, being sent down to Earth to help people. And then they turned it into a cartoon called The Gary Coleman Show. It has... Why wouldn't you just name it The Angel with the Broken Halo, the cartoon show, the animated series, like all these sane ones did, like Bill and Ted, the animated series? No, we're just gonna call this one The Gary Coleman Show because his name generates more hype that way. But it's so bizarre that they made that choice. And yeah, it's about Gary Coleman playing just a kid who looks exactly like Gary Coleman, named Andy, who helps people, and there's a demon in a pimp hat that tries to kill him. It's funny talking about how this show exists.
Yeah, we should also include that the character of Hornswoggle, the fucking demon in a pimp hat who just wants to kill this angel boy, he is not a character in the movie.
Yes.
He is 100% made up for this show. He does not exist in the movie. This is based on. He's an original character. He's an OC. Do not steal. He just really wants this little boy's blood. That's what he's about.
Yeah, he knows that he's an angel, and Andy is the only one that is aware of Hornswoggle's existence. He works for other angels. Like, he has a higher up angel lady that sends him on the missions. And she does not believe that Hornswoggle exists. Andy will be like, oh, but Hornswoggle tried to stop me using his magic cloud powers. And they're like, Andy, Hornswoggle does not exist. Stop lying to me about this shit. Like, but you have to believe me. He's like, no, you're making this up. I don't believe you. So they're just gaslighting these angels. Why don't they believe Hornswoggle exists?
To the fucking angel lady's credit, if you described Hornswoggle, I mean, just look at this motherfucker. This like evil wizard or demon or like Satanist or whatever the hell he is, who's just going out of his way to try and kill this like little boy angel who just wants to make people happy. Like, if you described him to somebody, do you think they'd believe you? Do you think they'd believe that he exists?
I would believe that Hornswoggle exists because I've seen the Gary Coleman show, and I know that this bastard is out there.
I've seen footage.
Next up is a show called Genlock, which is also not very good. But this one isn't even ironically good, like the Gary Coleman show. This is a Rooster Teeth original. This is one of the big 5 Rooster Teeth shows. But could you believe that nobody voted for this one?
I've got some words to say about Genlock.
Say your words.
This is one of the shows that I'm really opinionated on, because I am a pretty big mecha fan. Like, if you're a friend of mine, that's probably a thing that you know about me. This show fucking sucks. It is attempting to be, an American-made mecha anime, but it is made by people who both like do not understand and have active contempt for the genre. I think there is a quote from the creators saying that, like, oh, unlike most mecha shows, ours is different because ours focuses on the characters instead of the robots. If you've seen like any mecha anime ever, really, that is the most stupid fucking thing you could ever say. And it just really goes to show like how little these people understand the thing that they're actually trying to do. Also, all the mecha designs in the show suck. They're all sauceless. There's not a single like standout or memorable design from the whole show. The whole show looks really bad. Looks like fucking Iron Man Armored Adventures over here. You've got like this borderline nonsensical plot with all these stock characters voiced by people who aren't real voice actors, giving like the most wooden performances you've ever heard. The writing is schlock. There's no like real villain or antagonist to attach to. All the drama is contrived. It's just a miserable viewing experience, and it pisses me off a little bit that it was made. This was an absolute flop on Rooster Teeth's part. It's a really asinine show. I just don't understand the rationale behind, if you don't like or even understand mecha shows or the very genre of the thing you're trying to make, why make it? Like, this was made by people who clearly did not know what they were doing. I don't know how it had this much of a budget. And it clearly left, like, no cultural footprint whatsoever. Like, this was not at all the same success that Ruby or, Red versus Blue was. And I know just from information behind the scenes that this was in production hell, and it was like a really bad time actually making this show and getting it out. I believe they swapped writers at some point, and it did not improve the quality of the show. It's just a bad time. Fuck Genlock. This show sucks.
You've heard of a show being a love letter to a certain genre. From everything I hear, this show is a hate letter to mecha anime.
It really is. Like, go watch just the original Mobile Suit Gundam. Go watch, like, Evangelion and tell me, is that show about the robots or is it about the characters? This guy has, like, never fucking seen one of these in like his whole life.
Well, it's named after the robots, so obviously it's about the robots.
I'm going to beat you to death with a hammer.
The first episode of this show It was pretty boring. It showed potential. I'll say that. It could have been good if they had tried harder, but from everything I've heard about it, it's only downhill from there. They had an interesting premise of the main character dies and then is brought back to life using technology. That could have been good. That could have been something. And I like that they used a Louis Jordan song as a relevant plot point, but I would not recommend Genlock. I've not heard good things about it, and the first episode was not great. Next is George of the Jungle, the 2007 one. It's pretty bad. This is a very cheap-looking, rigged animation show. It aired on Cartoon Network. I remember watching this sometimes. I didn't like it. This was one of those shows where even as a kid, I was not a huge fan of George of the Jungle. None of the jokes landed. None of the characters are funny or interesting. Pretty generic, bad show.
I do remember when this one was airing. This has the distinction of being one of those few shows where even as like a child that is generally like too young to have really developed taste or an ability to differentiate good media from bad media, I already did not like, which says a lot about its quality. I remember at one point when I was a child, I think I was on a trip with my parents and we were staying in a hotel room and I wanted to watch Chowder. So I put the TV on, and I remember an episode of George of the Jungle. It was running before the episode of Chowder came on. So I sat down, I watched that instead, and my mom said to me, change the channel. So I ended up watching SpongeBob instead of the Chowder episode I watched, because it was too bad for me to continue watching Cartoon Network while my mom was in the room. It's just a very low quality show. It sucks.
That is a very tragic story. Next is Ghost Force. This one's pretty bad. Watched one episode of it, and it was very boring. It's about these ghost hunter superheroes. They put on these like skin-tight bodysuits with different colors on them, like they're the Power Rangers, and like fight ghost monsters. And while watching it, I thought, this has a very distinct, like they're trying to rip off Miraculous Ladybug type feel to it. And then I looked it up, and sure enough, the creator of the show was heavily involved with the making of Miraculous Ladybug. So there you go. I didn't like any of the characters. None of the jokes landed for me. Not interesting. Nothing else to say. Next. Glenn Martin DDS. Pretty bad.
This is, in the same boat as Celebrity Death Battle. It's claymation, which normally bumps it up a full letter grade. And this one is still down and pretty bad, which tells you a lot about the quality of it.
This is when claymation is used for evil instead of good.
Yeah. All the characters are gross and unlikable. It's really upsetting to look at. There's definitely a heavy reliance on gross out humor. Like there's a dog in the show, and the dog's joke is that its butthole keeps falling out. And that's the whole joke.
It is very gross to look at, especially the dog character. This is not a show that you can watch if you are eating something.
All the characters are vile and wretched. I hate all of them. There's not a single likable character here. Pretty bad. I'd say that the show would be in garbage if it wasn't claymation. Like if this had the Brickleberry art style, that's exactly where it would be, based on the writing and content of the show.
We only watched the first episode, and thank God that we didn't watch any more. But the reason that it is not in garbage, aside from the claymation thing, is it did have one good joke that I thought was funny in it, and that's when they're in a parking lot and there's a bunch of threatening rednecks, except it's the reverse of that, where they look and sound like rednecks, but they're extremely woke and they're threatening the main character for not being woke enough. Like, that RV you're driving, how much miles to the gallon you get on that thing? It's like you're polluting the environment. We don't like that too much. I thought that was a good bit. I liked that bit that they had. But that is why it is not in garbage. But yeah, gross, disgusting show that I wouldn't recommend anybody ever watch. Next up is Go Diego Go. I'm putting it not very good. It's a preschool show. It's a spinoff of Dora the Explorer. You know that one, you know the deal with this one, except it doesn't have as much creativity put into it. It's almost played for more realistic, because in Dora you got, a bunch of anthropomorphic animals different colors, it's almost like a fantasy world in that one. This one, it feels more like it's real, except the animals can talk. Like, it's just straight up animals from real life, except they have the ability to talk. Same thing with, like, they have objects that can talk and have faces on them, but it just lacks that fantastical charm that Dora had to it. And overall, it's just more boring of a show. Feels like it was made more of to just cash in on Dora than it was like we needed this as a show. And then right after that, we got Go Go Corey Carson, which is another preschool show, except this one is going all the way up in the pretty good tier. There are very few preschool shows to make it up this high, I think. But this one, it did the job. And it's especially weird because this is one of those shows where it's doing like Cars did, where it's all the characters are just vehicles that have faces on them and can talk and are sentient for some reason. But it's just like a nice family show about this family of talking cars. It looks great. The animation and art style are lovely to look at. The characters feel like real almost. Like they're an actual family of cars who love each other. It's just a nice, wholesome little preschool show. And the one episode that we watched was really dang good. I couldn't believe it. I was very surprised.
I think I alluded to this show earlier when I mentioned that most talking car type shows are pretty bad with one exception. This is the exception that I meant. This is a weirdly charming show for what it is. It's got a very nice art style. It's very appealing to look at. It's kind of shocking to have a show that is of this genre be up in pretty good. But, for what it is, it's nice. It could be a lot worse.
Yeah, the plot of the one episode that we watched was, the plot is every year, the car parents have their, car children do, a scavenger hunt to honor the memory of their deceased grandfather, and it has a very heartwarming, emotional conclusion to the episode with, a beautiful score playing, and it's why did they go so hard? Why did they cook so hard with this preschooler talking car show? It doesn't have any right to be as good as it is, yet here it is. Okay, next is Godzilla, the animated series from 1978, and I'm putting it not very good. This is one of two Godzilla animated series, and I think I just straight up grabbed the wrong one. I did not review the other one at all. I didn't know that it existed until today. Or right before recording this. But yeah, this is the one from 1978 made by Hanna-Barbera, not the one from the 90s that some people probably actually care about. No, this is the bad one. The one about a team of human researchers, and Godzilla is also here. And also, to quote the Wikipedia for this show, along for the ride is Godzuki, the cowardly nephew of Godzilla. Unquote. And it's exactly what it sounds like. This almost Scrappy-Doo-esque, baby Godzilla who follows them around, and he's cowed, he's scared, he's hiding in the corners doing the Skyrim cower animation. It's really stupid and bad and cheap looking. It's very static, even the fight scenes. That's this show.
I was just gonna mention Godzuki. That's my one takeaway from this show. I think Godzuki's really funny because he's just American bullshit that the creators of this cartoon made up that they put in instead of fucking Mothra or King Ghidorah or something that would be cool to see. No, you get Godzuki. That's what you get. We need him for some reason. I don't know why they put him in. I don't know why he's there. I don't know why Godzilla Media keeps trying to focus on characters other than Godzilla. Nobody fucking cares about the human characters in a Godzilla piece of media. Nobody. The big dinosaur, guess what? He's enough to sell it. It's absolutely imperative that we include Godzuki. He's the key to all this.
I was gonna say he's like the Mr. Skipper-Doo the Rabbit from that one Incredibles bit.
He's a funnier character than we've ever had.
Now we have Golan the Insatiable, and I'm putting this one in pretty bad. It's about a little goth girl and her best friend who's like a demon overlord, but the demon is like a pathetic loser. It's an adult show, so it's got like crude, raunchy humor, a lot of gore and death in it. It's really not that much to it. I didn't like any of the characters. Very few of the jokes were funny. Some of it was alright, but that's probably the only thing keeping it from garbage tier. Now we have Goldie, and I'm putting this one in not very good. This is a Apple TV Plus animated show that came out very recently, I think maybe even this year in 2025, about this giant girl living amongst a normal sized human town, and she's very nice and friendly, and that's her thing. But the thing is, everybody in this show is kind of nice and friendly. It's like everyone is so overly like sweet and saccharine that it just feels artificial. Like it's too clean and sterile of a show, and that's what lost my interest in it. There's nothing, there's no substance here for me to find interesting.
This show was kind of forgettable to me. Like, to be honest, I remembered that we watched it. I just didn't remember anything like happened in it until we started talking about it. The way that Goldie looks to me, the like weird, exaggerated like proportions and stuff. You know that like corporate art style with like the big hands and
Yeah.
it looks a little bit like that to me.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from with that.
It feels like it's trying to be like wholesome and like sweet and like, you know, kind of like a relaxing show like that, a little bit like Hilda or something. But I think Hilda kind of just runs laps around this show in terms of like art style and vibes.
I mean, the whole reason that I even checked this one out is that a writer from Hilda created the show. So I was looking forward to it, and then it disappointed me.
Yeah, Goldie, not very good. It's not like super bad either, but it's just like, it's not really appealing.
All right, next is Golpea Durahara. This one is going in not very good. This one is, I believe it was originally an indie show, and you can kind of tell with its, you know, art style and writing. And then Cartoon Network, of all people, picked it up and made it like a mini series. But to me, this one, it feels more like something that Rooster Teeth would have picked up in the mid-2010s, not Cartoon Network. Because the art style, I mean, like the color palette's all right, but the writing and character designs and everything else about it, the fact that it's like a shonen type show of this girl who's a fighter and has to work her way up the ranks to fight the evil fighter king. That's the plot of the show. You could probably predict how the entire plot goes. I only saw the first episode, but it also has some very interesting world-building choices where this girl, the protagonist of the show, is the only woman in the entire world, but that itself, at least in the first episode, isn't even really brought up as a plot point.
Yeah, this has the same plot as Lisa the Painful.
Yeah, except that's not even super important, I don't think, to the story. It's just that she's a fighter and wants to prove herself to be the best fighter.
Yeah. I don't know if it's that this is in Spanish and, you know, there's like a translation barrier for the jokes not landing, but it wasn't really very funny. The animation looked very cheap. Like it didn't have like a lot of frames to it. It felt like very framey, where you got like 5 frames a scene or something like that.
Yeah.
It was it just didn't look very good or very smooth, which I understand this show probably had a limited budget. But yeah, it also had like kind of a premise that didn't feel that novel, despite Lisa the Painful aspect of it, where there's only one woman left in the world that isn't focused on. It's like between this, Punch Forever, and Invincible Fight Girl, 3 different animated shows where it's like plucky female protagonist attempts to ascend the ranks of like a big fighting tournament, and it's like a parody and homage to like shonen anime. Like there are 3 shows with that exact premise, and it feels worn a little thin between so many shows doing the exact same fucking thing. Which 3 isn't that many, but they're all contemporary. They're all like kind of happening around the same era.
This was the first of those. This one,
This was the first. It is the
Yeah.
first to do the premise, but it's not the first one I saw, so that didn't help it.
moving on to Goof Troop. I'm putting this one in A. It's a classic 90s Disney cartoon about Goofy and his son Max moving into a new town with his neighbor who hates him. It's all right. It's a nice show. Got good animations. Got some good gags in there. Like the dynamic of Max just being a normal, well-adjusted kid for the most part, and then his dad is Goofy. The cartoon character Goofy. So it's all right. All right, and now it's time for the recommendation, starting with the letter G. This is a short YouTube video called Grandpa Found the Car Keys, made in Windows Movie Maker, and it premiered on YouTube 19 years ago. It's very short, and I'm going to play the entire thing right now. So as you can see, it's the greatest video that's ever been uploaded onto YouTube.
Second greatest, first being this one.
Next is Green Eggs and Ham. I'm also putting this one in A tier. This is a fairly new show, based off of the Dr. Seuss book, of course, about that one guy from Green Eggs and Ham, but it makes it a whole dang series with a ongoing storyline, with him and Sam I Am going on like one big continuous adventure, and I never saw the whole season. I only saw the first episode, but it was all right, Not that many of the jokes landed, but the writing was all right, I would say. It develops the characters pretty nicely in the first episode. I especially like the diner scene of the two introducing themselves to each other, which is like something out of like mixing a Quentin Tarantino scene with a Dr. Seuss scene, which I thought was pretty charming. It looks great, animation's nice. Maybe at some point I'll watch the rest of it, and I've heard good things about it, but for now it's just going in here.
A lot of praise for an A tier show, but yeah, it didn't crack the A barrier.
Yeah, this is a show that has potential to it. It has things I like about it, but it also has a lot of things that prevent it from going any higher to a better tier. So I think this is the right tier for it. Gremlins Secrets of the Mogwai. I'm also putting this one in A tier, and just like the same thing, I only saw the first episode. But the characters are alright, and it shows potential for an ongoing story. I haven't heard anything else about this show, so I don't know if it's actually worth continuing or not. It's of course based off of the Gremlins movie, which I saw the first one. Classic movie. And honestly, the Gremlins are the least interesting part of this show. I think the human characters carry it, and the Gremlins are just kind of there to be the IP that you recognize. But looks fine. Don't know if it's worth continuing, though it's going in this tier. Now we got Garage Band, and this one's going in pretty bad.
Yeah, this is more Beaver Slop. This is a certified Beaver Slop show. Congratulations, Canada. You've got another show down in the pretty bad tier.
See, the premise of it isn't awful, I would say. It's just a cartoon about 4 kids who have a garage band. It just fails on its execution of not making any of the characters funny or really likable. And it also has that Canadian cartoon vibe of it thinks that it's way cooler than it actually is. It thinks, wow, super cool, super radical, and it just comes across as forced and cringy. And it also has a fair share of gross out humor in it, which everyone knows that I am not a fan of. But yeah, I didn't like it. By the way, I don't know if you saw it, but I had to make a correction. It turns out Dude, That's My Ghost is not Canadian.
No way.
Yeah, it is British/French.
That's shot. They managed to channel the Canadian cartoon vibe perfectly.
I know.
That's shocking.
Yeah, I was surprised.
That's terrifying. Now other countries are learning how to make their own beaver slop shows. Dear other countries, stop sending us this shit.
Now we have the Guardians of the Galaxy show, and it's not very good. The same characters you know from a better movie, and what if we just took everything about them that made them interesting and funny, got rid of it, and just made it one of those... This feels like one of those generic 90s superhero shows, you know, like, or 2000s superhero shows, like Avengers United We Stand, like one of those.
Yeah.
Where it's just boring, sauceless superheroes teaming up to fight adventures that don't have any real weight to them.
Avengers United We Stand is a really good comparison because it feels like it's doing the same thing that is, where it's like a pseudo MCU tie-in where it feels very close to like what the movies are doing design-wise, the way the characters look and are presented. And it suffers from the same thing that does, where because they're kind of like trying to be like a pseudo movie tie-in, they don't use a lot of the more fun shit or like fun designs from the comics, and it's just kind of like using a very limited box of things to pull from, and it feels really boring as a result. Like there's no sauce on this show. Guardians of the Galaxy, not very good. This is
boring. That's all I can... One word.
Yeah.
Boring.
It's boring. It feels more like a product than a show meant to like market the movie.
That is a good... I couldn't have said it better myself. Also, I got them mixed up, but both of the Avengers shows, Avengers Assemble is the one that's like MCU character designs. Avengers United We Stand, that's the one with Ant-Man and Vision in it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, Avengers Assemble is the one I meant. Avengers United We Stand is like a weird anomaly that I forget if we've already talked about or not.
We have.
We haven't.
That one didn't get any votes, so we've talked about that one. But honestly, all three of them, the Guardians show and both of those Avengers shows, they're in the same boat of just boring superhero cartoons.
They don't really capture any of the fun of the comics. It doesn't really feel like it's using the IP to the fullest. It's just boring.
And now the last one we got here, Gui Endestopa, and I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right because I only watched one episode of it, and episodes of the show are like 3 minutes long, and the one episode we saw barely even had the two main characters in it. It was like this French dog who was annoying. It's very cheap looking. Maybe it was even flash animation. I don't even know. But it looked bad. Nothing about it was funny. So it's going down here.
This is a really forgettable cartoon because it took like re-watching clips of the episode we'd already watched for me to even remember that we'd seen this. There's nothing really good about it. There's a lot bad, but nothing really good. Pretty bad's where it belongs.
There you go. That's all the shows that start with F and G that got 0 votes. Make sure to like it and leave a comment if you have any differing opinions about the shows we talked about, or if you just want to say anything at all. But I will be seeing you next time